Can't keep us still for very long. We have snuck off to London because there's a very important journey that we've been wanting to take Crusoe on for ages. We are going to follow in the footsteps of none other than Daniel Defoe.
Robinson Crusoe, here we come. So we are off to see where Daniel Defoe was born, where he died.
And I think we should hit the road.
Let's go.
Let's go. What do you reckon, little man? Everything in the mouth, eh?
We're the Newbys, a family of travellers with big dreams. I'm Tara, this is John, and this year we were joined by our little boy Crusoe. 2020 sent the world for a loop, and it sent us on a journey. Not wanting to waste a single minute or second of it, we embraced van life and travelled to over 20 countries in Europe in our self-converted camper van. With the arrival of Crusoe into the world, our priorities remain the same: to make every moment matter, to take this little family around the world and to teach our children about huge horizons, a life full of opportunity and adventure around every corner. Before we head out on the road again, this time for about half a year, we wanted to have one last UK adventure. We're often asked about Crusoe's name, and we're sure you've worked out by now that Crusoe is the surname of the main protagonist, Robinson Crusoe, in one of the greatest books ever written by a very talented English rogue and author, Daniel Defoe.
What about that, Crusoe? Look at this. It's the underground. We've been down here before once.
So we're headed to Moorgate as our first stop. It's believed that Daniel Defoe was born in a street called Fore Street Avenue. It's actually not known where he was born or even when he was born. There's a time frame that they believe. Pause for the train.
Defoe was born, lived and died in London, and so we wanted to retrace his steps, to find out everything there is to know about the infamous man who imagined the name that we chose for our son.
That's it, we made it to Moorgate, and now I think the road we've got to go to is around about, what, 2-minute walk, 5-minute walk from here? Right.
We are here.
There we go, we're right next to it, look.
Fore Street.
The Globe pub, no, the Keats of the Globe, when was that made? 1873, look at that, 1873.
That is 200 years after Daniel Defoe was born. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. So they think Daniel Defoe was born sometime between 1659 and 1662, most likely in the autumn or summer of 1660. They don't actually know when, and they're not entirely sure where, but they think it's most likely that it was here on Fore Street.
Let's find it. I think this is Fore Street.
It's Fore Street Avenue.
Fore Street Avenue, that's what we were looking for. There is absolutely nothing on this street that Daniel Defoe would be familiar with. I mean, I wasn't exactly expecting to turn up to a street and have some kind of Anne Frank building tucked away between skyscrapers, but I was expecting something. Nothing.
Okay, well, this is Fore Street. There's a little road called Fore Street Avenue on the other side of this enormous building. Somewhere around here, I think, is the area where Daniel Defoe was born. Like you say, doesn't really feel right, does it?
No. Nothing. Well, darling, there's an old church over there. I wonder how old that church is.
I think we should go check it out.
Should we go and have a look?
Yeah. I'm going to have to keep looking at my phone to get my facts straight, but in Daniel Defoe's early childhood, he lived through some of the most unusual circumstances in English history.
Like what?
The Great Plague of London, which killed 70,000 people.
Okay.
Great Fire of London. And also when the Dutch came on their boats and attacked, I think, a town called in Cheshire, or near Cheshire, something like that.
What?
I'd have to keep checking. Great Plague of London, 1665. Great Fire of London. Left standing only Defoe's and 2 other houses in the whole neighbourhood.
I wonder whether that was because he was literally meant to write
greatness, exactly. In
Robinson Crusoe.
1667, when he was probably about 7, a Dutch fleet sailed up the Medway via the River Thames and attacked the town of Chatham in the raid on the Medway.
Look at that. On this site at 12:15 a.m. on the 25th of August 1940 fell the first bomb on the city of London in the Second World War. That is totally remarkable.
There's quite a lot went on in this street.
Isn't it? Gosh. Alright, let's go and have a look at that church, see whether we can find some evidence of Defoe.
So this church is the parish and ward church of St Giles Cripplegate, and they think there's been a church on this site since Saxon times.
That's cool, so Daniel Defoe may have gone to church in this church.
Absolutely. The present church dates back from 1090, was extended in 1340, restored after the fire in 1545, and again in 1897 and after the bombing in 1940.
So hang on a minute.
Oliver Cromwell was married here and John Milton was buried there.
Oh my goodness, what kind of an area have we come to?
The place where all the great things began.
That's Milton, and that is Daniel Defoe. Brilliant. Crusoe showing you that that's Daniel Defoe.
It's quite extraordinary to think that that man imagined the name of our son.
Yeah, he didn't just do that, he imagined an entire story having never left the country.
Extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah. Right, so now we're going to go and look where Defoe is buried. So the dude in there that we were just talking to, I think he's probably the church curator or something, he showed us where Milton was originally buried, in the floor. And said to us, of course, Milton's been moved to Westminster now. This church wasn't good enough for him, so he had to get moved to Westminster. Fancy pants. But Robinson Crusoe, Daniel Defoe, is buried just around the corner from here. So we're going to go and take a look at that now.
He said next to William Blake, and I thought he said next to a lake, and I was like, oh, we can have a picnic.
No, William Blake the poet.
I am hungry.
Okay, all right, let's get some food.
You know what that means?
Do you know what I love about London? I absolutely love that you've got churches like this that are literally hundreds of years old, surrounded by modern, brand new buildings. And of course, these buildings aren't that modern, but what that says to me is that the consensus about building new next to old has always very much been the same in London, and we'll probably see that as we drive through Bank on the DLR, that there's brand new buildings, glass buildings everywhere, and these ancient buildings poking out and lost in amongst them, but still very visible and very good, very fun to look at. They're always there. So, Daniel Defoe was a rogue, to say the very best about him. From what I understand and what I've read, he was a bit of a chancer. He went to jail a couple of times and ended up poor on his deathbed. He was basically broke. They think he died of a stroke, but nobody really knows, because nobody cared about Daniel Defoe too much while he was alive, because he was a thief, he was a rogue, and it just so happens that he wrote one of the greatest books ever written, and the namesake for our son Crusoe.
He was also, by the way, born Daniel Foe, but added the Defoe later on in his life so that he sounded a bit more gentle.
A bit more fancy, so that he could swindle and con more richer, more affluent people. And the book Robinson Crusoe, by the way, was translated into almost as many languages as the Bible, the second most translated book ever.
Of all time.
Of all time, and also widely considered to be the very first English language novel of all time. Beat that.
So Bunhill is thought to have been derived from Bone Hill, because the area is reputed to have been a burial site for over 1,000 years.
By the time it was closed for burials in 1854, around about 123,000 people had been buried here. Dude!
It's one of the most celebrated historical burial grounds in England because of people like Daniel Defoe and William Blake being buried here.
There we have it, Daniel Defoe, born 1661 probably, died 1731, author of Robinson Crusoe. Isn't that great?
That's amazing, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, it doesn't say dodgy geezer or person that refused to conform and wrote pamphlets about all kinds of dodgy stuff that annoyed the heck out of the politicians and the religious parties. It says author of Robinson Crusoe. Brilliant.
As a little boy, John read Robinson Crusoe several times. It may have even been the first book he read that had no pictures in it, his imagination running wild because words without pictures can do that to a mind. And so it was that John found the book that would guide his life. Some people find the Bible, others education. John found Robinson Crusoe, and it acted as a catalyst for his love affair with travel and adventure. Even our Newby strapline, "Be brave, think big, explore," holds roots in what Robinson Crusoe must have been thinking as he waited 28 years for his escape.
Crusoe, what are you doing? Are you about to puke on Dad's head?
No, don't puke on Dad's head.
Crusoe, what are you doing, Snoops?
I'm going to eat Dad's head. I'm not going to puke on it. I'm going to eat it.
Hey you, Crusoe, look here. Oh.
Did he just puke on my head? It feels like bird just shit on it. Is it? All right, my darling, shall we go and ride the DLR
Yes.
across the other side of the river
Yes.
and go and put a couple of feet on either side of the Greenwich Mean Time?
I think we got to do it.
The beginning and the end of all time.
So Crusoe has done that before in his life,
He has.
but he slept through the entire thing.
So we'll keep him awake now this time. Here we are. How about that then? That is one of my favourite railway journeys in the entire world. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Through all of those tall buildings is really, really cool. And like I said before, sometimes you get a glimpse of history in amongst all of that glass too. Right there.
Here we go.
There's the observatory. The old Royal Observatory.
It's the secret stretch of line. Oh, no, either side.
There we go. Start and the end of the world. East is that way,
No, one on either side.
west is that way. Well done, Crusoe. Let's go and have a pint.
Well, I think that wraps up a pretty cool day in London.
Yeah, almost. We've got to have a pint first.
We're going to have a pint.
And a boat ride down the Thames.
Right down the Thames.
Okay, one of the easiest ways to get down the river is by jumping on a boat. You want to make sure that it's not one of the tourist boats though, otherwise you'll be paying through the nose for it.
There are so many defining journeys one can take in this life, and for us as a young family, this day felt pretty poignant and important. Thank you for sharing it with us and for being here. If you'd like to help us grow, please hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and leave us a comment. We love hearing from you. And a very special thanks to our Patreons, especially Sue, who inspired this journey with an email a few months ago. Next week, we hit the road, and we're excited to see you there.